Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at Riderflex. We hope you enjoy today's podcast. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the Riderflex show for updates on new episodes. And by the way, if you haven't already, check out the book we recently launched, The Riderflex Guide, Inspiring and Hiring, available for purchase on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm not in my normal fancy studio today because my wife and I both work remotely. So we bought this fancy RV and we do a little remote / work.
So are you guys in the RV right now?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
She just took we have one of our granddaughters with us. And I told her, I'm like, hey, take her outside, ride the tricycle, do something. I got to do this.
Yeah. Megan and I, it's a weird tangent, but we remodeled a school bus as an RV and lived on it in 2021.
Cool.
So
is it still active? You still use it?
Yeah, we still use it all the time. Just for weekend trips.
Wow. Did you do the like the shelving and you did it all yourself, the wiring?
Yeah, dude, it was wild. I did the whole thing. Like I got it as a school bus and I turned it into an RV. It took me like 9 months. But I got it done.
Very cool. Okay.
It's got a solar system. I went all out.
Sweet. Okay, so you guys can work remotely I don't know. Can you or can you not work remotely?
Sort of can. I mean, that's why we stopped living on it. So we lived on it for about 4 months, and Megan got pregnant again. So like Megan got pregnant with our second kid, and then we started realizing like, hey, this business isn't gonna run itself. So came back to Nashville. At one point, we were using a co-man. So we were like, at that time, we had someone else making the product. We had a 3PL that was shipping it for us, and then since then, to sort of figure out how to be profitable, which we have figured out, we brought all of the fulfillment into one of our scoop shops for our online orders, and then built our own like commissary kitchen here in Nashville where we make all the cookie dough for grocery and stuff like that. So I mean that takes a lot of like hands-on, like you got to go do your thing.
Yeah.
But you make more money, and it's not like, oh, you make like pennies more. Like you make a significant amount of money more. So it's like, am I going to be lazy and lose money, which is what most brands are doing, or am I going to do the thing? So doing the thing.
So are you from Nashville, or where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Akron, Ohio.
Okay. Tell me about your folks, siblings. Give me a little background there if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I grew up in Akron, Ohio. My dad is a firefighter. He's retired now. But he was a firefighter and kind of like moved up through the ranks as I was like moving up through school. When he retired, he was like higher up in the department and worked for the Akron Fire Department. Really great guy. He actually had a couple like side businesses that he ran just kind of like throughout the entire time I was a kid. So I would say like if you want to,
there's the entrepreneur.
There's some of it, right?
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my dad and my mom had jobs the entire time I was growing up too. So like both my parents worked. Mom and dad worked different jobs all the time. We moved to like a nicer neighborhood, so my brother and I could go to like a really good school when I was in middle school. And I think watching my parents like work as hard as they possibly could to make that happen for us, it put something inside of my head where even to this day, my natural knee-jerk reaction to a tough situation is to work harder.
Keep pushing forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, oh, well, like the knee-jerk is like, okay, well, how many more hours can we put in and where can we put them to make this thing go?
Gotcha.
So it was a good like formative experience.
Mom and dad still alive?
Yeah, mom and dad still alive.
Still married?
No.
Yeah.
The common situation, right? No, not still married. Dad still lives up in Ohio. Mom lives in Texas. And yeah, still like, have a good relationship with them and whatnot. But I would say, it was weird. I think a lot of young people should move away to go to college. And I think moving away and coming down to Nashville is really what kick-started my adult journey.
And yeah. Did you do that because of college, or why'd you do that?
Did it because of college. So I went to a school down here in Nashville called Belmont University.
Okay.
They're known for music. At the time, I wanted to be a songwriter. And then throughout college, I kind of changed my mind on what I wanted to do with my life multiple times.
Wow.
Never seems to be able to figure out, like, what is it I'm going to do? By the time I graduated, I had settled on finance. Don't really know where that came from.
How'd you go from I want to be a rock star to finance?
Now you're going to start seeing like the entrepreneur come out. So it's my belief, and this is just from personal experience, that everybody who ends up becoming an entrepreneur and is successful at it and actually enjoys what they're doing is a little bit creative and a little bit weird. And at the same time, they really get business. Like, business gets them excited.
Yeah.
So like finance for me was like a creative outlet. It sounds ridiculous.
Okay.
It's like, that's a creative outlet to get me closer to this thing that I actually really like. Like I really enjoy, and it's not accounting, right? Like, finance is a forward-looking act. So like investing, doing like investment banking, if that was like what I was kind of like locked into on the time. I found it to be more interesting, and like, so it's so weird because it's like an art form. It's not science at all. Whereas like accounting is like, you're counting the beans. Like, this is the way things are, and it's the way they are all the time. It's kind of like the people that become lawyers. Yeah. Black and white, like, things are this way. This is the way they are, which ironically, the entrepreneurial lawyers are the ones that make the most money, and they're the ones that start seeing things in shades of gray. That's where you started to see it, right? Like, I think as a kid, didn't like exhibit a whole bunch of like entrepreneurial traits, but I also didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then
were you a good kid? Were you a rebel? Were you like, what kind of kid? What kind of teenager were you? Like, were you calling dad from the sheriff's office or what?
Yeah. What? Yeah. I got picked up by my parents at the police station at least once.
What was that? What happened? Can you share the story?
What did you do? Rough. I can. It's a great story. So one of my friends had gone off to college at Kent State. Kent State's not far from Hudson, where I was living and going to high school. And he invited me one night. He's like, hey, let's go over to my friend's fraternity. They're having a party. Yeah. You can come drink with us.
Of course.
I was like, sweet, man. Yes. And I was a rebel. I was like, kid that was like getting in trouble a little bit, but I wasn't a drinker. In high school, I mostly dabbled in other things.
Oh, I see. All right.
And I wasn't like drinking all the time or anything like that, right? So like, I had no idea what I was doing. And I drank with them. I don't remember how much I drank. And it's like 2:30 in the morning. It's frat row at Kent State. I'm out on the like front grass, like playing beer pong with these guys and like all these people. And some moron across the street sets off fireworks.
Oh.
And I looked over at my friend and I was like, dude, they're going to get arrested. Yeah. That's all I said. So everybody else leaves and we stayed. I don't know why. So I was 17 and stupid. And I stayed until the police showed up. And then the police start asking everybody, how old are you? Like, what are you doing here? You guys need to leave. Like, they were just trying to get people to leave. They're like, what are you guys doing at 3 a.m. out in front lawn? Like, go inside. Like they're cops in a college town. They're not out to get you.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and I made it so difficult for them because I was so drunk and so stupid that I was just like, no, I'm not going to tell you how old I am. I'm not going to go inside. And they were like, we're putting you under arrest. And I was like, wait, what? So then I had to call my dad from the police station in Kent, and he had to come get me.
Now that's not the town that he was fireman in, though, right?
No. But I had told the police on the way to the station, I was like, my dad's a firefighter. He's going to kill me. And they were like, he's going to kill you. And I was like, great. I think they felt bad for me. They were like, we don't have to book you or anything. We'll just give you to your dad. And I was like, great.
Was your dad
take me to jail? I was like, I want to go to jail.
Was your dad was he pretty hardcore, pretty tough type A character?
Yeah. But like, it's kind of funny because as he's gotten older, he's not like that at all. Like as an adult dad, he's a lot more of like, oh, I'm going to like guide you or give you some advice, but it's never hard advice. It's never like black and white advice as an adult. It's never like, hey, you need to do this. It's always like,
he's softened up.
Here, I guess maybe like grandkids did that to him. I'm not sure.
Does he have grand? Oh, so that's right. You have one and one, or no, you have two now. Is that
2 kids? Yeah. They're 1 and 3.
1 and 3? Girl, boys? What do you got?
Girl and boy.
Yeah,
So
that's
younger
probably
boy, older girl.
okay. Okay. Well, he doesn't get to see him that often then because he's in Ohio then, huh?
No. Our parents try to get down here pretty often. But it's difficult, right?
I know. How'd you meet your wife?
So Megan went to Belmont too.
Was she at one of the? Yeah, was she at the same party where you got arrested? No, that's a different one.
No, it's a different one. We actually met at a bar underage drinking. So apparently this is a theme in my life. But yeah, I mean we met at this bar that doesn't exist in Nashville anymore.
Okay.
And hit it off. And it used to be a place where like kids could go and like drink underage. That doesn't happen in Nashville anymore.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like the city cracked down on that stuff in like 2015, especially as our tourism industry started getting real big. You cannot drink with a fake ID in Nashville. It's like going to Vegas with a fake ID.
Gotcha. Was she also kind of one of those, I'm going to go to school in Vegas and hopefully be a country western music star, or was she?
Sort of. Megan wanted to be a manager for like musicians.
Okay.
So that's what brought her to Belmont, and she actually graduated with a music business degree.
Oh, cool.
And she worked in the music industry.
Oh, really?
For about a year and a half. And then the reason she started NoBaked was she hated working in the music industry so much after that year and a half that she was like, get me out of here. I'll do anything.
Really? Just the people, just the whole, just everything about it.
You're getting underpaid to do just another old office job. And it's not fun and it's not interesting and there's nothing special about it. And they bamboozle a lot of kids into taking those jobs for less money than they should.
Yeah, right. Because when you're a kid, you're like, oh, we're going to like hang out with famous people and party and it's going to be like a great time. And it's not that.
They're like, no, you're going to do accounting in an office. And occasionally it will have you come to like the album release party. Like, yeah, I remember when she got hired at Sony, they gave her like a welcome gift and it was like Sia's new album and like all this other cool stuff. And then it was like, that was the last cool thing that happened. Nothing.
That's pretty good. Okay, so you met her there, and you got married like right after college? What's the timeline?
So we dated through college, broke up, got back together after college, and then we were living in Hillsborough in Nashville. Like I was working at Jackson National, which is an insurance company, and then I switched jobs to this like sort of entrepreneurial thing. And this is when I started to realize it too. So I graduated, right? I was working for a startup. They weren't able to pay me enough money and my student loans were going to kick in. And they were a lot. And my parents, helped me. They co-signed on my loans, but they weren't like paying for school. So I had like an enormous amount of college debt. My loan payment was like $1,000 a month.
Ooh.
So you got to make some bank quick. And I was like, all right, we need more money. The startup wouldn't pay me more. So I found the job at Jackson through some friends. They're like, you'll be a wholesaler. Wholesalers can make a lot of money. Great. That seems to be what I'm interested in. Great. I'll go make money. And then 6 months into that job, I'm like, oh, this is stupid. Like there's too many rules. There's too much stuff keeping me from like making more money or getting promoted or whatever. And I just want to go do my thing. Like I just want to make cash. And I don't know why that's what was in my head, but it's kind of where I was at.
All right.
And then I got this opportunity to go work with this financial advisor like office in Franklin, Tennessee, which is south of the city, helping the state college savings fund market itself to other financial advisors to be able to get more like money in the door. So basically like wholesaling that plan in like a roundabout way. And they were going to pay me like a really heavy commission structure and like they gave me a sick salary and I was 22. So they were like, it was like great. I graduated college a little early. I've been working for about a year and it was like, this is a great opportunity.
Okay.
They lost their contract with the state of Tennessee 2 months in.
Oh,
and I had been sitting at home, like waiting for them to give me like the green light to go like start meeting with people. And so I got paid to sit on my butt for like 2 months, which is really weird. Yeah. It was the first time in my whole life that I was like
so guilty,
allowed to be like lazy. Yeah, it was weird. It was really strange. Started like making up a whole bunch of stuff to do. Like I wrote like a marketing plan for like the idea, like all this other stuff. So they let me go.
Can we pause on
Yeah.
that real quick? Just for the listeners, there's a lot of lazy people right now. It feels like to me, just in society, right? Just a lot of people just taking advantage of the system. A lot of people sitting around complaining, waiting for money to fall out of the sky, and here you come from your mom and dad's work ethic, right? The way you were raised, like you're complete opposite. You're one of those guys like, okay, it's weird, like paying me, like I feel bad about it. I feel weird about it. Like I'm just gonna I'm gonna make something to do. But in today's world, Jimmy, people fucking take advantage of that shit and just sit around and play video games, get paid, and think it's cool to do that.
There's some Reddit threads right now on like remote work where there's like guys that have 12 jobs and they know that they'll get fired from their job in about 8 weeks, like one of the 12. So they constantly try to backfill. And there's a dude that makes like $1.3 million a year doing this. I mean, you got to like do your due diligence on your employees, man. But these are just like guys taking like remote work, like developer jobs in tech.
And then like just doing nothing. And then 8 months. Yeah, wow.
They know that like in 8 weeks or like 12 weeks, I'll get fired for like sucking, because those companies do fire really fast. But they were like, if I get enough jobs, I can make money. It's a hustle, right? Like that's weird.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, kudos to you. So you're doing that, and all right. So they're doing, and then what happens? Then they call you and say, hey, this is over, or whatever. This is.
Yeah. So they call me into their office, like, hey, this is over. You don't want to go down and talk to the like lady at the state of Tennessee that like is handling that, because she might give you a job.
Okay.
Which is great, cool, like network my way into this job. Maybe they'll pay me well. And they paid me like trash. So I went from like, I can make a lot of money to like, I'm not going to make enough money at all. I'm like, kind of like back to the amount I was making at that startup. Like, okay, this is bad. I'm going to be broke. I don't like that. And so.
And what's Megan doing?
Working on a whole.
What's Megan doing?
She is working at Sony. She had also job hopped 3 times.
All right.
So she job hopped. Megan, similar story, and this is why the conclusion of it, like Megan started at BMI, job hopped to a dog walking startup. They pulled the offer because they didn't close their like Series A, and then she ended up at Sony that January of 2017.
Okay.
And then I am in the same boat, like with this weird thing happening right around that same time. We're living together. We're just like, this is not working. Constantly try to job hop. We're like searching for what we wanted to do. And like my excuse was always money. Her excuse was freedom. So like those are the themes that you'll like see if you like listen to us talk. Like Megan really wanted control over her destiny. I really wanted cash. What we both actually wanted was to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
We didn't know that. We didn't have like a mentor telling us that. Even though Megan's parents are small business owners, even though my dad had like done that before, they weren't trying to tell us to go be business owners, because I think you'll see this a lot. Like a lot of small business owners get real jaded with the idea of owning a small business once they've done it for about 30 years.
Yeah, because it's hard.
They hate it.
It's hard.
Yeah. And they don't want that for their kids. They're like, I want you to have a stable job with a 401k and all this other nonsense, because they didn't like knock it out of the park.
I always tell people, I always say, listen, being an employee is easy. Owning a business is fucking hard.
So you didn't. No one wants that for their kids, right? Yeah. Like not really, unless they were like extremely successful entrepreneur. But even then, they're like, do I want my kids to like give up the things you must give up in order to make that happen? Yeah. So,
but anyway,
I could feel that energy.
You're headed down the road, though. You're both like, okay, what do we do? What do we do?
Yeah. So we're headed down that road. Megan quit her job, like walked out to start NoBaked. That was in March. And then
why NoBaked? Like, how did that?
She made the recipe, and she'd been making it for years, and it just kind of like made sense to her. She was like, okay, I want to replace my salary, and they were paying her trash. Megan was making $32,000 a year. That's trash. That's nothing. I'm sorry. I apologize to anyone that's making that. You need to go find another job.
Yeah, to go find. Yeah. So she
had
like
$15 an hour.
Yeah. She had been making this cookie dough, like that is something she had been doing. You guys had been eating that at the house, or?
Yeah, for years. Like she was just a dessert that she made, and then she was like, I could package this and sell it to farmers market and online, and I could replace my income. And she had done the math to see how many units she would need to sell to be able to do that, and like it wasn't a lot. And she had gone to business school, like she had paid for a college degree, and now here she is making $15 an hour essentially. It's like what am I doing? So
Okay.
she quits, starts doing that. Had a lot of early success, like with some farmers markets and events, and then like selling it online was going like sort of well. It was all organic, built up like a cool local following. And then I quit my job. I remember I had a moment where we had a pop-up where we had this long line, and I had been quiet quitting my job. That's apparently a term now. I did it way before it was cool. I did that when I worked for the government the entire time I was there. I'm sorry to any of them that were there if they listen to this, because they're connected to me on LinkedIn. But I wasn't putting my all into it. After about 3 months, I got real jaded, and I just started helping Megan do NoBaked. And then eventually, I was like, I'm quitting this job because I'm sick of making excuses for why I'm leaving the office. Like I'm constantly, I'm going on a meeting, like or whatever, and I wasn't going to a meeting. I was going to like make cookie dough.
So
like,
suddenly you're helping her at farmers markets. You're helping set up. You're doing stuff.
And I liked it a lot. Like it sounds ridiculous, but it's like I loved it. That summer was the most amazing time I've ever had. Like at one point I told my dad when I quit my job, like I'd rather sell cookie dough on the street. I would sit on the street corner and sell cookie dough if I have to pay my rent, but like I'm not going back.
I just can almost imagine your dad. Like I don't know him, but I'm just based on what you told me. It's like he's a fireman, like kind of tough guy, right? That's probably a tough guy, and he's telling
and like super conservative, right? Like by nature, like so, and so are Megan's parents. Like you have worked a government job your whole life, technically. Like your salary is guaranteed. Like things happen. You work a certain amount of hours, they pay you a certain amount of money.
Yeah,
that's not how the world works, though. And you're like, so many people have.
I'm gonna make cookie dough. Your dad's like, what? You're gonna do what?
Yeah.
So good.
But the thing that I've like come to conclusion of over the last couple of years, and it's to your point, it's harder to be a business owner or like a startup founder. You are experiencing the world for what it really is.
Totally.
The world is not a place where you can work a certain amount of hours and suddenly make a certain amount of money. That is a trade you are making with a guy that is taking on all the risk. And for all you know, that company could go out of business tomorrow.
Absolutely. Yes. That is a misconception for most Americans. They drive down the highway and they see all these businesses, they see all these signs, and everybody just assumes that all these businesses, everything's just fine. And whoever owns it's making a ton of money and everything's perfect. I'm always telling people, I'm like, no, that's not the case. Like 90% of these people are probably just month to month, just trying to survive.
Yeah, and you're making a trade with employees, right? Like the trade is like you are going to take a set amount of money so that you can feel secure and safe in your life, and I'm going to take on all of your risk.
Yes,
and absorb it, and then I'm going to attempt to pass off that risk by creating value and circumnavigate it, or I'm going to pass it off to investors and banks.
Well
and I'm going to be the middleman for the risk. Like we live in a risk economy, and that's just how it works.
Perfect.
In the real world.
Perfect summary. So you start. All right, so you guys are humping it. You're starting to make enough money to pay the mortgage, but it's probably not a lot. Like it's still tight, right? I'm guessing.
Not a lot. We were living real minimalistic, which was really helpful. I mean, we just got out of college. So like the one mistake that I had made is like for that job, they were like, hey, you get a car allowance, and I had bought a new car. So like I had like a car payment. Our rent though at the time was like $1,200 a month. So like nothing. Okay. And then
no kids.
Megan's car was paid off. We had no kids.
Okay.
We had like student loans, and then I remember our burn rate was like $4,000 a month. We was like, we need $4,000 and we can be fine between two people. So like burn rate's $4,000 a month, like that's factored in, right?
Okay.
So you like cover that and save the rest of the money. By the end of the summer, we got to a point where we had like a little bit of money in the bank, and then we took out a shit ton of credit cards, and we built the first store.
Wow.
And we went all the way to the wall. No general contractors would work with us. So my dad drove us down from Ohio, helps me build the store. Like we built the store. My dad's that kind of guy. Like he's extremely handy, extremely resourceful. Like if my dad hadn't been a firefighter, he would have been an entrepreneur.
Really?
It's a mindset thing though. And I think people don't get that. It's like, to break out of the quote unquote golden handcuffs is very hard. And it's mostly like the security blanket feeling, I think, for like probably 90% of people out there. That's the reason why people don't go beyond like even, and then that's why entrepreneurs limit themselves, right? Like I have one successful shop. Why would I open another one that's psychotic? Yep. So then it takes like a certain person, a certain lunatic to be like, I'm going to go hard I'm going to try to do this thing and I'm going to do it big. And like, there's no reason or rhyme behind it other than like your own passion, because you don't need more money.
Yeah. Did you, not to go too deep, but for the listeners that are interested in retail stores, did you get a big tenant allowance deal? What kind of deal, what kind of lease did you get, and what kind of allowance did you get for the build out, and how much was the build out, if you don't mind, roughly?
Yeah, I'll go over all that. So like, this is the first store in 2017. So keep all this in mind. We bootstrapped the hell out of it. Did not use a general contractor. I pulled all the permits. Like I went to codes and did all of that stuff. So I researched it, made it happen. I built the store with my dad, and we found a space that was already previously a restaurant. So we were just doing remodeling. We weren't like we're doing power or plumbing or anything like that.
What a great experience. What a great experience.
Great experience.
Learned so much during that. Yeah. Great.
I think it cost us $50,000 to open the store, all in with equipment.
That's not bad.
So super cheap, right? This is 2017. Everybody keep this in mind. It's 2017. Today it would be like $100,000.
Yeah. Well, most build outs are like $300,000 to $500,000 or more.
Yeah. Well, I found that out later. So we got no tenant allowance. The landlord did not want to lease to us at all. We were 23, strapped down with debt, college students. We were basically we were a year and a half out of college.
And the only reason she gave you the lease because your dad co-signed on it.
No one else would lease to it. No one else would lease the building. No one co-signed on it.
No one co-signed.
She was a crazy person, and she was desperate, and we had a really good real estate broker.
Okay.
And we had like $40,000 in the bank from doing the pop-ups.
What was the 3-year, 5-year, 10-year? What'd you sign?
5-year.
Okay. Wow. All right. Congratulations. You got her to sign. You got her to let you sign that lease with no experience, no money in the bank, and no cosign. Great job.
Yeah, we tried. We tried really, really hard. Basically, it was like, I will sue you and take everything you have if you don't pay this loan. Please. Great. What I've learned since then is that landlords don't have much power. So I've been sued by a lot of people, and no one's gotten much. And we were able to set things up very correctly when we did do the expansion. So like I ended up building 9 stores. 3 of them were franchised.
Wow.
One of them was a food hall, so built out by someone else, and then the other 5 were actual build outs by us. The first one was the bootstrapped one. The second one we also bootstrapped in Louisville. They gave us tenant allowance because the first store killed it. So then it was like, I print money, lease me a space, and they were like, here's the space. And then on the next stores, it was the same deal, like more tenant allowance, better deal, longer lease. And
how many stores?
The last leases, it was the last couple leases, we were getting rid of guarantees, which was great.
Great. How many total stores now?
Now we have 4.
4. So okay. Yeah, go ahead.
COVID was very rough on our business model. We sold our last franchise right at the end of 2019. Even without COVID, like we were struggling to make franchisee sales like work. Like they weren't doing well. And to this day, I'm convinced it's because we picked the wrong franchisees. And they also would tell you that. All very like open and honest people.
Did they work?
Great people.
Did they work the store, or they just tried to buy it and put a manager in?
They just tried to buy it and put a manager in.
Well, there you go. That's the problem.
We're a new brand. We're not McDonald's. Like it's also a dessert shop. There's not a lot of unit volume. There's not enough butter in it for like, you know, like a manager and operating partner. Like you can't pay a bunch of people. That's not how it works.
No.
We had bad expectations too because the first 2 stores we killed it. And so everyone else had bad expectations too. Like if you're doing $600,000 a year off of one store, then I should be able to do too. And that's not what happened. So bad expectations and a lot of like really bad learning lessons happened in the first 2-3 years of the business. And we didn't get a lot of advice from very many people. And that also led into, I didn't seek out like mentors, neither did Megan. We had no investors. We had no board. We had no advisors. We bootstrapped the whole thing and we made so much money in the first 12 months that you
thought, this is how it's going to be all the time. Like, this is great.
Yeah. Bad expectations, right? I was 24 in March of 2018. One year after living in our apartment, starting the business, moving into a penthouse apartment in Nashville, I made $128,000 in profit in 1 month. And I was like, I am the shit. Like I could do whatever I want. And everything I touch is going to turn to gold. Opened the second store. We're killing it. We just sold our first franchise. Like we're going to go to the moon. And what you don't realize is like, you're less than a year into owning the first store, you're a moron. You have absolutely no clue what you're doing. And no sophisticated investor or person would like get behind this, but lots of unsophisticated idiots would. And so then we got more reinforcement by a bunch of morons who are like, I'm 55 and I've been doing real estate my whole life and I know what we're doing. And like, no, you don't. Like, there's a reason you're 55 and like you're still like here with me, the random kid that owns the cookie dough shop.
Oh, that's good. So good.
There was a lot of bad advice from a lot of bad mentors at that point, and then like, and honestly, people who just wanted to get their hands in the pie, and
right, yes.
Yeah, the whole thing just came crashing down, like into a point where like we're sitting at the end of 2019, burning money. We have a giant SBA loan. We opened a bunch of stores. I'm working more hours than I ever have and making no money. And
then COVID.
Yeah. COVID was our saving grace, ironically.
Because you could get out of the lease. How? Tell me.
I'll explain. It's a very complicated story. So like we're into 2019, October 2019. Megan and I are like, okay, what are we doing? We don't have a mission. Mission can't be to make money. Like we don't really, like we've been entrepreneurs long enough now that we're like, what's going on? And Megan had just won like Young Entrepreneur of the Year for like Nashville, because we opened all these stores and like revenue's going up and everyone's like, yeah. We're like, this is not good. Like, I'm gonna have to raise money. We're gonna go out of business. And she also was on like she was not the Forbes 30 under 30. She was on like the Nashville 30 under 30. Like we were getting a bunch of awards and burning a bunch of cash and doing a bunch of things that like just made people think that we were successful, but we weren't actually successful. And I hate that. And it's why to this day I do not like awards. Like I hate them. Don't like that junk, because it's like they give you people these things before you've done anything, before you've actually accomplished the goal. Some of them are fine. Like you go look at the Forbes 30 under 30, which we were on this year. It's like they're picking the people that they think are the most likely to succeed over the next 10 years.
I see.
That's kind of how it's been explained to me. It's like, no, because I'm looking around at the list and I'm like, none of us have actually like murdered it. Like we're not killing it. None of us are like, I mean, some people on that list are like billionaires, but like for the most part, most of us are just like, they have a really good idea. You're a great entrepreneur. You've been doing a good thing, but you haven't reached the pinnacle.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
or whatever. So with COVID, we realized we needed to pivot in 2019. We started trying to raise money. We started looking for advisors. I made this goal of I'm going to meet one entrepreneur a day. I don't know any. Why don't I know?
And you hadn't raised any outside cash besides SBA or whatever. No other.
No.
Okay. All right.
So we had a lot of debt, but like no equity investors.
Okay.
I had really bad time raising money because I had no clue what I was doing. As in, I didn't know why I needed the money. I was like, I need the money to cover my burn. And it's like, what? Like, what do you mean to cover your burn? Like, stop burning cash. So it's like, I had the wrong idea about what it meant to raise money. And unfortunately, a lot of people these days are still able to bamboozle people into giving them money to cover their burn.
It's true.
So that's not to say I couldn't have raised the money. It's to say like, about a month and a half in, I realized this is stupid. So then we're like, we're not going to raise money. We need to figure this out. So we launched the online store again in November of that last year, in November of 2019. We were like, okay, we're a cookie dough company. Maybe this is the way. Like maybe we need to do like a CPG product and pivot away from the stores. And then I met a lot of people who gave me a lot of really great advice. I started like really wrapping my head around like what would the business look like if we started scaling it a different way. I read The Lean Startup, which was a really like important book in learning how to pivot. I think everyone should read that book. Don't be afraid to like burn your business down, which is kind of what we proceeded to do. COVID forced us though. So like I had all this mentorship and all this stuff. Jimmy, pivot, change. And I wouldn't change and Megan wouldn't change. And then the pandemic was like, you better change because you have to shut your stores down. Yeah. And we went from doing like $5,000 a month online in sales a week to like 60 by the end of April.
And started closing stores all at the same time.
Yeah. And so it was like and then we got the PPP loans. Yes. And then we got the restaurant relief grant. Yep. And then we got ERC money. And then it was like, oh wait, we recapitalized ourselves with all this government money.
That's great.
So that lucky. and then we're able to negotiate out of these leases. No,
was just about
landlords
to
weren't
ask.
nice about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Negotiating out of a retail lease is not
we
easy.
had two landlords understand, and
Okay.
then let us leave. And there were a
Yeah.
bunch of others that I was in lawsuits with until this year.
And then you
And
paid like a percentage of what you agreed on.
I
percentage
paid-
of whatever was left.
I paid the lawyers more than I paid the landlords. Nobody got very much money.
Okay.
We've never had a lot of money to seize, so
And how about the
eventually they were
franchise?
like, "Oh wait."
How about the franchisees? You had 2 or 3, they just went away.
We had one franchisee closed, the other two are still open.
Oh, they are. Okay. Wow.
We
So you had 2
have two
franchisees
stores.
that made it through
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah, and to their credit, they are still trying to figure it out, but they're also kind of burnt out and we're all trying to figure out what this looks like over the next few years.
Okay. All right.
We have a much better idea as a company of where we're headed, but like for them and their own businesses, like they're trying to figure it out.
The direct to consumer, the e-commerce piece, do you have like a co-packer? How are you doing that?
When back then,
Like right now, well, I guess,
Or right
yeah,
now.
maybe that's a 2-part
It's very
question.
different.
Maybe
Yeah,
back then
so-
and then now. Yeah.
back then we started filling those orders during COVID, like out of a scoop shop that we had closed.
Okay.
The scoop shop had been hit by the tornado that hit Nashville in March of that year, and then it was closed because of the pandemic. So the scoop shop was super closed.
Okay.
The neighborhood was like destroyed by a tornado, and it was one of the only buildings left standing. So we're just in there making cookie dough, and UPS would show up and grab the dough and
Great.
leave.
Love it. All right. Cool.
And it's like a war zone basically, and like there's a pandemic outside, so it was like zombie apocalypse level. Like other buildings didn't have power or water. Like it was really strange.
You're filling
Um,
orders. That's so good. That's a good story right
Nobody's-
there. You got any pictures from that? That'd be good. If any pictures of you and her like
Lots
working in that little store, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and all of our staff, everyone from all the Nashville stores, like we were able to hire everyone back. Like, hey, you guys are gonna scoop cookie dough, and like we're gonna make this work, and I'm gonna help you guys get through the pandemic. You're gonna help me get through the pandemic.
Cool.
We're all gonna get through it together.
That's so cool.
Um,
Very cool.
and that's how we did that year. And then we switched to a co-man in the beginning of 2021. I got
Okay.
bamboozled into doing that.
Uh-oh.
I got
Bad news.
bamboozled into using a 3PL. We basically were like, we're going to outsource this business to the point where like we can like live in the bus and like drive around and work remotely.
Nice
and
thought.
Run the business from afar.
Nice thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not profitable. So like
Yeah.
we raised money at that same time at the end of or beginning of 2021. A
Okay.
little bit of money on crowdfunding, and we thought last year we were able to grow exponentially and break even, make a
Okay.
little money. I think we made like 100 grand in 2021 or 2020. I'm sorry.
And paying yourself.
And then-
You're paying yourself a decent salary.
Yeah, like
Okay,
compares to like 100 grand or whatever.
Okay.
And then in 2021 we started seeing what was going to happen with digital ads and with D2C in the real world.
Okay.
And we started to burn money. The 3PL is expensive, more expensive than the employees I had doing it in Nashville.
All right.
The co-man was more expensive to make a jar than it was for my employees to make it in Nashville and hand scoop it. So like that's stupid.
Yeah.
By the way, I looked at a bunch of other co-men since then, and nobody does it for a cost-effective rate. If you have a non-homogeneous product, and this is a piece of advice that people should listen to, if your product is not homogeneous, and I mean that to say if it's not a meat stick, a bar, something that is being made in mass, cereal, like, and when I say cereal, I mean like the homogeneous kind, like it's made with grain and all this. You look into making your own product for yourself, because you will find out very quickly, even with overhead, even with owning the plant, even with buying the equipment, getting the labor, factoring all of that into the price of the jar. Yes, it is cheaper for you to make it than it is for a co-man. It is riskier because the equipment could break on you. It is riskier because you have to hire the employees. It is harder because you have to manage all of that, but you will get paid for the amount of risk you're taking on.
Were you also, of course, at this time, you're also probably outsourcing what? Are you outsourcing marketing? Are you outsourcing accounting? Are you outsourcing?
We're outsourcing everything. And then we started insourcing things throughout the remainder of 2021 once we shut off digital ads. So we fired our digital agency, we shut off ads, we created our revenue because we were like, I don't feel like burning $100,000 a month in order to make $3-4 million a year.
Yeah.
And it was a tough decision, and it actually been the best decision we've ever made. Today we are profitable. Today we're de facto alive. My competitors cannot say the same. And to me is a big deal. And
Um,
the only issue has been like during this funding round, like, and it shouldn't be an issue. I think I don't want to partner with someone that's stupid. And so it's like, if you look at me and you're like, oh, well, they're 3 million in revenue and you're 1, but they're burning 100 grand a month and you're burning 0. I want to invest in them and not you. I'm like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
Like their revenue is not sustainable. It's not
Yeah.
coming from like grocery. It's coming from like D2C and other channels that are a little bit more like paid to play. And at the end of the day, we're all working toward the same goal. And I think that we're all doing a good job, but I think that we're doing it better in the sense that we're better at managing a business.
So
a real
right
business.
now, you have 4 stores plus the e-commerce. And do you mind sharing revenue? Do you mind sharing what you think you'll hit this year in revenue? Can you share that or no?
Yeah. So the last 12 months we did 1.2 million in revenue.
Okay.
And then the next 12 months we plan to do 6.
Okay.
The way that we're going to get there is through GoPuff and DoorDash. And they've been like really cool partners with us for the last last year. Moving forward, the reason we'll be higher in revenue is our partnership with them is just expanding, which was really just a distribution problem that was really hard to solve.
When you count your revenue, how do you count revenue from your 2 franchisee stores? Do you count their top line in that number, or do you count what your proceeds are corporately from those numbers?
We're just counting the 6% royalty.
Okay, very good.
Like, if I was to count their revenue, we'd be like north of 2 million. But yeah. The thing is, we've sat between 1 and 2 million for 5 years.
Okay.
And we've done that because we have pivoted over and over again to try to find the business model that truly scales.
Yep.
Rather than like scale into a cash burn situation that you cannot manage.
Understood.
And I would rather run my business that way. And you probably would too. Like a lot of other owners who are like older, have been doing it longer. I look at them and I'm like, why are more startup founders or people in CPG, for instance, not inspired by like these guys that are running like quote unquote boring businesses or whatever at scale that are like 40, 50 years old, that have done this for 20 years and they're making money and they were able to do it without like losing gazillions of dollars. I don't think it's cheap to scale a CPG brand. And no, I do not think it's free to build the brand, but I don't think you have to lose a shit ton of money doing it.
No, I agree. Totally agree. I know can I keep going? Can I ask you a couple more? I know that we started late and now I'm pushing you past your time.
I don't have another meeting until 1 o'clock. So let's just keep going.
I want to ask you a couple more if I can. Yeah. All right. So how much of your revenue is direct to consumer from the website? What percentage?
10%.
You want it to be a lot more, obviously. I'm assuming.
No.
Oh, you don't?
No.
No,
but it's a money losing business model is to sell cookie dough online. And I will be the first person
because of the shipping or what?
Because of the customer acquisition cost. So today that $120,000 is organic, and that $120,000 has a 40% contribution margin. So after the money that we pay to acquire the customer, like so sending emails, shipping it, putting it in a box, the gel pack, and the product cost, it's about like 40% gross margin to me. After all those costs. And then if I was to advertise and scale advertising, and also it's 40% rosy. I mean, if there's returns and like discounts and stuff like that, like I run a sale and like say I run a 20% off sale, like now it's 20, or if I ran a BOGO, I'm losing money. But and people would say shipping scales and stuff like that. So like that's a deeper conversation to have with someone in an argument that I don't want to have. Basically, it's not a capital efficient way of growing. You're looking at, with most e-com brands, they're going to do 5% net profit if they're lucky. And so you're going to take that 5% and reinvest in inventory that was 20% of the cost structure. So it'll take you 4 years to build up inventory of 1 year and to actually own the inventory with no debt or equity like attached to it on your balance sheet. There's a lot of issues with like being able to reinvest profit to grow. And so even if you were making money, and that's if, you would be in a situation where you were so capital intensive that you would need to borrow and raise into the end of time. And most businesses are even worse than that. They have a negative contribution margin on the first order. So they have to burn cash to get the product to the customer and then pay overhead.
Wow.
And like, that's not a business model you want to be in ever. And it doesn't end. There'll be like lifetime value, man. The customer will come back. Eventually it makes sense. Dude, you're re-advertising to get that customer. Don't tell me that.
You are. No, I totally agree. So more franchise stores or more corporate stores? What are you thinking?
So we're not opening any more stores, but what we're playing with this year. So we're scaling through grocery with GoPuff and DoorDash.
And you're gonna go wholesale. All right.
Yeah, we're also going into the fresh market, Kroger, and hopefully Publix.
So
when
even
we launch
though
in those stores,
even though that wholesale is going to be smaller margins, you're thinking the volume will pay off.
Yeah, and the margins aren't that much smaller. If you look at it compared to the shops have a really bad cost structure with rent because it's a low volume store. You end up in the same contribution margin spot where like a store is going to kick off 20% EBITDA to 30%, and a grocery relationship for NoBaked, because of our good margins, will kick off probably 15 to 20% EBITDA.
And wholesaling into groceries is a hell of a lot easier than running retail stores.
Yeah, and that's also I would caution people to say that's after logistics and trade spend. I'll make 15 to 20%. So like we could potentially lose money on certain trade deals like a BOGO, but like we're not going to run that every day. On average, and this is what we've seen over a small amount of revenue in the past, and also kind of what we're predicting through like GoPuff and DoorDash and some of our better partners. The way to support those stores though, and to boost velocity, because that's what we're really interested in, is to do food service. So to your point, the scoop shops in Nashville are why I can have cookie dough at a corner market here and sell 120 units a month. But I can't do that in markets where people don't know what the brand or the product is. So we will be launching food trucks this year in partnership with two of our distributors.
Really?
Who will sell the cookie dough to the food trucks. Haven't decided if I'm going to franchise them or not, but that's why we're raising money. So we're raising money to do that.
Are you only in that market?
No, so we'll be throughout the whole Southeast and the Midwest.
The Southeast. You're not west of the Mississippi though.
Not west of the Mississippi. The way to get us west of the Mississippi is going to be through GoPuff or DoorDash. Give it 2 or 3 months, and we'll be there.
Okay, nothing on Amazon. You can't buy it on Amazon right now.
You can buy it on Amazon. We do that actually through another partner of ours, so they actually buy it from us wholesale.
Is that? So you have another partner plus Amazon takes their hit, so that's small margin for you.
Yeah, small margin, but like it's a solid like wholesale margin. Like I built it in, so like we're drop shipping it for them. Like they're running all of the ads, doing all the customer acquisition, running the store, dealing with the Amazon fees. We're only getting hit with like what we decide to get hit with. So I'll sell it to them for like half of what it costs them to ship to the customer or something like that. And it's a good relationship because they're running a bunch of different brands on Amazon, and so they're running a model where they're efficient at doing e-commerce, and that is it is a product inside of their larger portfolio.
Who's packing your product now? Who's making the product for you now?
We are.
You're still doing it in that same location?
No, so now we make it out of a commissary kitchen here in Nashville. We switched back from a co-manufacturer at the beginning of this year.
Wow.
And that's how we're able to get the good margins that we get. We are able to do that without even being at scale. So like,
how about that?
I have capacity to make, once we get some of the equipment in that we're getting right now, which is another reason why we're raising money. So we have like capital to be able to do that as well. If we have to in the future, like we're currently building the line that we're doing with or without the raise. We have capacity to make about 160,000 pounds of cookie dough a month.
I was just about to ask you about capacity. So what happens when Wholesale Foods orders product across the country? Then what?
With that, we'd be able to support it. There are some situations where we would not be able to support right now. And we have to be comfortable with that if we're going to be vertically integrated. We do have runway with 160,000 jars a month. We have runway to get to about 12 million in sales. So
with the space you're at right now and the equipment you have right now.
So we're currently planning a new facility that will take us to a point where we'll be able to do 60.
All right.
But that's another reason why we're raising money today. Like I want to raise money today, put that sort of in motion, and then it'll be done in 18 months or 2 years.
What's the raise? What are you working on?
We're working on a raise. It's $3 million is what we're trying to get. We're giving away 25% of the company.
So 25% for the 3 mil. Okay. And that will still leave you and Megan with 75%.
It'll leave us with 70. We did raise money in 2021 and we gave away 5% of the company. But same deal.
Okay. Was that friends or family or angels, or what was that? The 5%?
It was angels, so it was through crowdfunding. So we
right,
raised on Start Engine.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, for us, we feel like this is a really good time to like de-risk the company and like lean into a like legitimate growth strategy, which is like, let's get these food trucks out here, let's start boosting velocity at grocery, prove that model can work, get the company to a really great run rate, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Because I think in 2 or 3 years, when we've proven that model out in the Midwest and the Southeast, and through the e-com delivery partners that we've got like DoorDash and GoPuff, we will either get acquired or we will keep going and make this a family business.
Speaking of M&A and getting acquired and competition, do you know Erica Rankin from Brodo?
Yeah, I love Erica. She's awesome.
She was on the podcast as well. I had her on the podcast a few months back. Yeah, you're like, when you and Erica talk, like, do you ever talk to people like that and be like, hey man, let's do something together? Any, like, you guys ever?
A lot of those conversations happen behind the scenes, especially when like I go to Expo, because we're building a manufacturing plant. Like I desperately want to empower other brands. The way that our vision works for the company is, yes, we think our brand can do really well. Yes, I think there's a place for it in grocery. I also think there's a place for Erica's brand.
Yeah,
there's a place for Sabina's brand with dough. There's a place for Dope. There is a place for all of us to exist on the shelf together. But that is one part of our overall business. The larger portion of that is we're also planning on doing a huge amount of business in food service. That is why our company is VC investable. Like, I think that we can probably do north of $100 million in wholesale to like other ice cream shops, selling 3-gallon buckets of our cookie dough. I think that we don't have the capacity to do that right now, and we won't until we build a bigger plant. I also think that doing the trucks is interesting and a unique model that no one else is about to try. Erica is not going to do that. Neither is Sabina, neither are any of the others. And we're going to do that this year, and we will make a little money on it. And then the other thing that truly makes us different is like, I want to manufacture the product, and I want to build the biggest manufacturing plant for edible cookie dough like ours in North America.
Yeah, so, that allows you to gobble up smaller companies, smaller competitors, or they're like, hey man, just make my stuff for me or whatever.
Or just make their product for them. And it's so hard to find a co-man for a non-homogeneous product. I talked about that before, and that's what they all are also going through. And if I can be that person that is at scale, so I actually can give them a fair price, then I'm doing them a favor, and they're doing me a favor by like making our business more sustainable. I think there's a way for all of us to work together, and Megan and I are really big on that.
Well, I know we're over on time, and I really appreciate you so much sharing all of this. Let me ask you one question here to wrap up. So when you and Megan have like a disagreement on a direction, what do you like, flip a coin, or do you take turns, or what happens?
So that's a really interesting question. It doesn't come up a lot. When it does, Megan has the de facto like yes or no.
Oh, she does, like officially on paper. Officially on paper. I mean, I'm never gonna like challenge. Does she
need to be on paper?
Does she pull that sword out? Does she pull that sword out and whip it around? No.
It's not who she is. But like, if it comes down to like, hey, we need to make a decision, like, she is the CEO. That's why it's her title. It has nothing to do with like anything else. It's mostly like.
Share a small one. Share a small little like share one. We'll wrap it up with that. Share like a small little like.
I'll share a disagreement, and I'll also share why. So the reason that Megan is given that position is because Megan is the guardian of the brand. So Megan cares about the brand more than anybody else and understands the direction it should be going in.
All right.
And she's not going to get distracted by the lady in the red dress.
I see.
So, like you're like walking through the Matrix, you see the lady in the red dress, and you get distracted. That is what Megan doesn't do. She has the power to not do that, to say like, I'm comfortable with this is our product, this is our stance, this is who we are, we're going to stay this way. So for instance, if I come to Megan with an opportunity, hey, like, there's this really cool thing, we could make this wild product and make all this money, Megan's going to say no, it's stupid, like we're sticking with this. Or I've come to her before and been like, maybe we should like use vegan chocolate chips. This was a recent example. I was like, I think we should use vegan chocolate chips. Like, then we can throw the vegan label on all of our flavors, and like buyers will like that. It's real and authentic.
She's
real
like,
and authentic, man. Yeah. She's like, that's your, we could put non-GMO. We could pay the non-GMO society or whatever they're called to put the non-GMO label on all of our products right now. They're all non-GMO, but we won't because Megan thinks it's dumb. It's inauthentic and it's ridiculous. And why would you pay some like agency to do that? And I would have paid them. Because I am more likely to fall trapped to the non-contrarian way of thinking. Megan is a contrarian by nature. That makes her extremely good at being a CEO. And that is why she has the title and I don't.
But that's a good story. That's a good story.
Yeah. I mean,
sounds like,
to that point, I'm better at forward-looking stuff. So like the strategy and a lot of like business development comes from me.
and the numbers, right? I mean, you're obviously a numbers guy. I mean, that was clear through our conversation.
I'm a little weird about that stuff, but yeah.
Meg, hey, congratulations to you and Megan. I mean, you've learned, bro, you could write a book. You know, you could write a book. I mean,
At some point, I think if there's ever, I have a problem with people that claim expertise when they have not gotten to the end of their journey. And I think that everyone's journey is different. It's not financial, right? It's like, I don't have to exit for some giant number to be able to have expertise in a thing. I think we just need to get to the end. I don't know what the end is. The end could be like, it's a family business and I don't work there anymore, but it needs to be at the end.
Couple of things I just want to highlight that I love about you and Megan. I'm sure, number one, your hustle is super evident. Your hustle is just, you know, the work ethic and the hustle. I mean, it's obvious. The ability to pivot and change and push forward through hurdles is super clear, which I think is awesome. And the third thing is you guys have learned so much so fast in the last few years about running a business and owning a business. It's knowledge that is very valuable, that's going to suit you well as you move along. And as an investor, my friends that are investors, they're going to look at you and go, okay, all right, this kid, I don't want to call you a kid because I know you got a kid, but they're going to be like, this guy has been through the shit already. He's learned a bunch, and that's super valuable. I think that'll be attractive to investors. So
I hope it will. That's kind of what Megan and I are hanging our hat on these days. Like, if you want to look at our backward-looking financials, what you will see is two people that know how to get creative and survive when their back's against the wall and know how to pivot. And if you look at the forward-looking stuff, I've got a lot of really great data to kind of back up like why I think we're going to where we're going. And hopefully you believe in us and the product. And that's kind of all I got.
Jimmy, thank you so much for sharing your story on the Riderflex podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Steve. I love it.